Sonny was keenly interested in learning more about the difference between nightmares and dreams. Of course, he had a general knowledge of how things were set inside the spell, but the first nightmare had already shown him that reality was different from how it was portrayed in popular culture in several small but infinitely important ways. He needed to separate the truth from the myths, and, of course, it was very advantageous to hear it from the mouth of someone who had been to the dream realm. So Sonny was all ears. Awakened Rock spoke in a clear, crisp voice.
Most people are aware of what nightmares are, because they have an impact on the real world and their lives. All of you have been warned before entering the first nightmare that should you perish there, a nightmare creature would be allowed to cross the threshold and enter reality.
So far, this sounded familiar to Sonny. That was the reason why Master Jet had to wait patiently by his side, prepared to deal with the monster if it appeared. Rock paced as he spoke.
First nightmares are unique because each of them is individual. That's why only a single creature can appear. However, starting from the second nightmare, things have become much more dangerous. These nightmares are not tied to an infected person. Instead, they are born in the dream realm. While the seed of the nightmare is growing, any number of awakened can attempt to conquer it. Should all these awakened all die or fail to find the nightmare seed before it matures, a gate will open in the real world, letting through countless monsters. You all know the consequences. Other awakened will be forced to withstand the onslaught on this side, but then there can be massive destruction or losses among the civilian population.
Every person on the planet feared the sudden appearance of these gates. It was the second disaster the spell brought upon after the nightmare creature's initial appearance. The main difference was that in an initial wave, there were only dormant beasts. However, gates had ranks of their own, and any type of creature could potentially step through. Not long before Sonny was born, a rank 5 gate opening left a whole continent uninhabitable. Luckily, high-rank gates were very rare. Awakened Rock's voice grew solemn.
So, it is not wrong to say that the purpose of the awakened is to enter the dream realm, seek out maturing nightmares, and close them before any harm could befall the real world. From this, you can see that the dream realm and the nightmares are connected, but are not the same. If nightmares are the destination, then the dream realm is the road. But it is also so much more.
Sonny thought to himself, very romantic. Does Awakened Rock have poetic inclinations? Rock continued with his lecture.
Simply put, the dream realm is a world. It is vast, mysterious, and mostly unexplored. It is also dead. There is no life out there except for the nightmare creatures, corrupted ecosystems, and now, us. But it wasn't always dead. We can tell that once, a long time ago, the dream realm was home to several primitive civilizations. There are a lot of ruins buried in its soil.
From what Sonny knew, these lost civilizations were not primitive. It's just that their development was centered around soul cores and mysticism, as opposed to technology. So, miracles and magic. What were their names? How did they fall? No one knew. Maybe they were destroyed by the spell. Sonny fixed his gaze on the Awakened Rock, curious to learn more. The teacher motioned with his hands as he spoke.
We don't know if the dream realm exists inside the spell as one of its illusions, just on an imaginably larger scale, or if it's real, with the spell only serving as a pathway between two realities. However, we do suspect that the illusions conjured up inside the nightmares are based on its history. They are replicas of past events, somehow reconstructed from the depths of time.
Sonny blinked in shock. Does that mean there might have been a real slave caravan on that Black Mountain a long time ago? Sonny remembered how time seemed to move in reverse at the beginning of his nightmare. He thought about how things would have ended up without his involvement. Did the nameless temple slave perish in the Mountain King's maw with the rest of the caravan? Somehow, he felt that the nameless slave was not that simple. Otherwise, why would the spell remember him? And what about Gregor? Was he able to escape? The awakened rock's voice cut off Sonny's wondering.
There are 4 main differences between the dream realm and nightmares. Firstly, it doesn't have a story. There is no predetermined conflict you are forced to resolve. You can move freely and explore, provided you have the strength to stay alive in the wilderness. Most people tend to stay close to one of the human citadels.
Sonny nodded and thought to himself, "That's good to know." Though the boy was skeptical, even without predetermined conflicts, Sonny suspected his fated attribute would surely steer him into some kind of trouble. So that freedom awakened rock had mentioned was relative in his case. Meanwhile, the instructor continued.
Secondly, as I have already mentioned, there are no people in the dream realm, except for those who come from the real world. There are only monsters. Some of them can mimic human appearance, though, so be mindful of that.
Sonny felt cold sweat running down his back. Nightmare creatures mimicking humans? So creepy. Since when was that a thing? Why hasn't he ever heard about it? He stole a glance at the legacies standing in the first row and noticed that they did not show any signs of surprise. So, they knew.
Thirdly, unlike the first nightmare, no nightmare creatures will appear in the real world if you die in the dream realm. It may sound cruel, but that's a good thing. Awakened forces are already spread thin. If we had to monitor every sleeper, we wouldn't have resources to handle more important matters.
Considering that each sleeper could spend weeks, sometimes even months in the dream realm, there was ruthless logic in that statement. Awakened Rock moved on to his final point.
And lastly, and most importantly, unlike nightmares which are bound by the rules of fairness, there is no limit to what kind of creature you can meet in the dream realm. During its trials, the spell won't pit a dormant human against an opponent many ranks above them.
Oh, really? Sonny thought to himself snarkily. However, he was forced to agree with Awakened Rock. Even though both Gregor and Mountain King were way out of his league, they were still just 1 rank above him.
But in the dream realm, no such restrictions exist. Theoretically, you can stumble upon an unholy titan and die before even realizing what happened. So be careful, and stick to the regions with enemies on par with your own rank. It's not an ironclad guarantee, but at least there will be less of a chance of you biting off more than you can chew.
Sticking to a region populated by nightmare creatures below his rank was even better. That was exactly what Sonny was planning to do. Awakened Rock paused for a few moments, studying the faces of the sleepers in front of him. Then he added,
When the solstice comes, you will be drawn into the dream realm. The exact location of where you will appear can't be predicted in advance, but there is a high chance that many of you will find yourself near each other. Band together and proceed to the nearest human citadel. Each citadel is built around a gateway. Once you reach it, you will be able to return.
Gateways were special portals that served as exit points from the dream realm. Once sleepers reached such a portal, they would be able to escape back to reality and become awakened. Their core would evolve, and they would also receive a second aspect ability. After that, they would return to the dream realm each time they fell asleep. Rock continued,
If you can't locate or are unable to reach the nearest human citadel, search for an unclaimed gateway. It will usually be inside or near the most prominent landmark of the region. Work together to defeat its guardians and come back alive.
He gave them a heavy look.
That is all for today. Next, follow the instructions sent to your communicators to find your assigned dormitory. Once settled, you may proceed to the cafeteria for some late supper. There will be a round of interviews after that to prepare your suggested curriculums. Get a good night's rest. Your training starts tomorrow.
With that, he gave them a short nod and left. Sonny sighed. Can't be predicted in advance, huh? With his luck, he would either drop right in the middle of a prosperous human citadel and immediately roll into a gateway, Or appear in some remote region of the dream realm, so remote and deadly that no one had ever heard about it or returned from it alive. Sonny hated the fact he was powerless to prepare for his next journey in any meaningful way. He knew that thanks to his damned fated ability, every journey into the dream realm had an increased chance of being the last. What's worse was that the awakened rock's main advice seemed to be to form bonds and alliances with other sleeps. But Sonny had already done such a fantastic job of alienating himself from everyone. He glanced around the room and saw the other sleepers bunching up into tiny cliques. And he sat alone in the corner. He cursed his flaw. Would his whole life be this awful, regardless of which world he was in? There had to be a way to fix this. He needed to make friends like his life depended on it. Because it might.
Hey amazing viewers, it's Sunny here. Thanks for sticking with us. By the time of the release of this video, only 8% of our viewers have joined the party by subscribing, and 92% of you might miss out on our next mind-blowing video. So what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and join the exclusive club.